could can we think about the isolation or lack of interest from the United States in Africa, in the Middle East? Could we see that as a potential turn of events where the world becomes more dangerous? Do you see the U.S. isolating itself as a potential, cause of more wars in that region?
Absolutely, and we Syrians know it more than anyone else in the Middle East, probably. Maybe some communities in the Middle East who suffered from the American wars, like the Iraqis, are excited to see Russia and China expanding their influence in their country on the expense of the United States presence. But we, as Syrians, we saw what does a Russian influence mean in our country, because when Russia entered the war in Syria and supported the Assad regime, we started to see more casualties, we started to see more suffering. Russia intervention was absolutely for worse for us as Syrian civilians, and Syria was the beginning of a new chapter for Russia's influence in the Middle East, and we see it from there now growing and expanding to other countries in the region, like Libya, like the Yemeni issue. Although Russia is very busy in the war in Ukraine, it's growing meanwhile also its influence in the Middle East. So I think when the United States and the former three administrations started to talk about focusing on China, on the competition with China, always this idea was accompanied with and coming with the idea of abandoning the Middle East and getting away of the Middle East and stopping what some politicians call the endless wars, either in the Middle East or in Afghanistan. And we forgot that this is a very strategic and important region that is an important and key tool now in the hands of China and Russia to win in this competition with the United States.
Wow. And it's interesting because it's kind of, we're living in a weird time where here in the US, we're seeing all of these college campuses against the United States, against Israel, and chanting for Intifada and chanting for all of these things, and for really essentially just saying that the US should step out of the equation. And what's interesting on my perspective, Hadeel, is when I listen to you and you're, echoing the voice of the Syrian people saying, Russian intervention was worse than anything, and so for me the confusion here is, or rather the question for you is, how does it feel, or what do you think about, this dissonance that we have here in the US, where we're chanting all of these themes in U.S. college campuses, and also, for example, we can also touch on Yemen, but one of the interesting things here is that Egyptian civilians who are suffering from all of what's happening in the Red Sea are supporting less of the Houthis than in U.S. college campuses. And all of these themes that, here in the U.S. we believe we have the truth, but first of all, we're not from the region, and second of all, we're not there. And so how do you make sense of all of these things, Hadeel?
Yes, I think for civilians in the region, for the future of this region, less American influence, less American footprint means worse, not better. Like those who are asking now for the U.S. to stop supporting Israel, they don't see the realities on the ground. Today, Israel is under fire from the Lebanese Hezbollah group, and Hezbollah has tons and tons of weapons on the borders of Israel, and they are attacking Israel, not only from Lebanon, but also from my country, from Syria. In Syria, Iran has very big military bases right now because the Assad regime is the closest ally for Iran as a government, not only a militia. In Iraq, they have allies, they are militias. They have allies in Lebanon, which are militias, same for Yemen. But in Syria, the ally is a government that's controlling everything in the country, and that's giving up very important and strategic military bases for Iran. So if Israel now is weaker, if Israel is not supported by the United States, we're literally going to see a genocide against the Israeli people and against the Jews, but also against the Muslims and the Arabs and the Christians who live in Israel, because Israel is going to be attacked from all sides. It's going to be attacked from Lebanon, from Syria, and also from Gaza, from the remaining Hamas militants, and also as many know, Yemen, the Houthis are trying to attack Israel. Iraqi militias are trying to attack Israel. So saying stop the support for Israel is literally allowing all these groups to attack Israel and to commit genocides against Israeli people.